Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the First Unitarian Congregation of Ottawa. My name is Brent Nicole, and I serve as Vice President on the FirstU Board of Directors. Normally, if you would like more information about First Unitarian, it would be available at the welcome table at the back of the pews. However, while the FirstU building is closed because of the COVID-19 virus, you may instead contact us through email at welcome@firstunitarianottawa.ca. I repeat, for more information, please email us at welcome@firstunitarianottawa.ca. After this service and future services, our normal hospitality hour will be replaced by a virtual getting together on Zoom, usually starting at 11:30 a.m. Sunday mornings, Ottawa time. If you would like to join us for hospitality hour on Zoom, you can find information on how to do so in our weekly email newsletter, the EUU, or on our website, www.firstunitarianottawa.ca. Whatever your heritage, whatever your faith, however you identify, and whomever you love, today you are part of our spiritual community. Welcome. We hope you come back soon.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the First Unitarian Congregation of Ottawa. My name is Kate Kirkwood, and I'm delighted to be your worship associate this morning. Although the doors to our building are closed to do our part in preventing the spread of disease, we still are a vibrant congregation with open minds, spirits, and hearts. This morning, I welcome you into my home and the homes of our music director, our storyteller, Anne, and our speaker, Lisa. We also welcome you to some woodsy garden spots to enjoy a summer's day. Thank you for welcoming us into your home. It's a beautiful thing to think that even though we are in separate places, protecting ourselves and others by staying away from a crowd, here we are together online, listening, connecting, and soon singing. I hope this moment finds you well. A few more announcements. While the building is closed, staff are working remotely and are monitoring emails regularly during working hours. Phone calls will be checked less often, so please email us for a quicker response. As we won't be seeing each other in person, it is more important than ever to sign up to receive the EUU, our weekly email newsletter. Check our Facebook page and our web page for notices and updates. Our online calendar is as full as ever. Today we welcome guest speaker Lisa Boulay. Lisa is a retired registered psychotherapist who has worked as a family and addictions counselor for many years. She has also developed and delivered workshops and training programs on substance use, mental health, trauma, and recovery. Lisa is a yoga teacher, Reiki practitioner, and is First Unitarian's newest lay chaplain. Later in the service, Lisa will be making a case for grace. We hope you find it uplifting.
Oblique Prayers by Denise Levertov. As swimmers dare to lie face to the sky, and water bears them, as hawks rest upon air and air sustains them, so would I learn to attain free fall and float into Creator Spirit's deep embrace, knowing no effort earns that all surrounding grace.
Chalice, chalice, burning bright, help remind us with your light of how we'd like to live each day with love and truth helping lead the way.
Good morning. The theme of today's service is grace. Grace and gratitude, two words from the same root, two sides of the same coin. That's why today's story is The Grateful Book. It was written by Angela Kohler for her own son. You can get it at Chapters Indigo. I am grateful every day. I hear a bird sing, and I'm grateful for music. I float in a boat, and I'm grateful for the ocean. I move fast, and I'm grateful for my body. I see the moon, and I'm grateful for the night. I lie on the warm sand, and I'm grateful for the sun. I read books, and I'm grateful for imagination. I fly in a plane, and I'm grateful for the sky. I discover treasures, and I'm grateful for surprises. I smell a flower, and I am grateful for beautiful things. I walk in the forest, and I'm grateful for the earth. I eat, and I'm grateful for food. I see my pet, and I'm grateful for friendship. I see falling leaves, and I'm grateful for colors. I stand in the rain, and I'm grateful for the weather. I learn about animals, and I'm grateful for variety. I fly a kite, and I'm grateful for the wind. I hug my friend, and I'm grateful for the people I love. What are you grateful for today? There's so much to be grateful for.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Deirdre Kellerman, and I am the music director here at First Unitarian. I hope you enjoyed our prelude this morning. It's amazing how so many songs just fit in together to make a beautiful new piece of music. That was a mashup of Amazing Grace, 'Tis a Gift to Be Simple, We Give Thanks, a piece out of our Teal hymnal, as well as a drone of Om Mani Padme Hum. A little later in the service, you're going to hear in our postlude a snippet of lyrics that you will recognize from Leonard Cohen's anthem, but set to new music by Lisa Littlebird. The hymn that we will be singing after the sermon is one that is near and dear to our hearts when our heart is in a holy place. And that song was written by Joyce Poley, and she's had a number of pieces in our repertoire. I'm introducing you today to a new one by Joyce. It is called All of Life is Calling Me, a beautiful song that we are about to sing. As always, when it comes to new pieces, feel free to give it a listen, then rewind and sing along with me. Join me from the top, or you can just listen and enjoy the music and words. In the quiet peace of the dawn, as the waking birds begin their song, with the sunshine warm on my face,
This is the time in the service when we are drawn closer to the heart of love at our center and hold those both near and far, loved ones and strangers, in our hearts. Words from John O'Donohue. May I have the courage today to live the life that I would love, to postpone my dream no longer, but do at last what I came here for, and waste my heart on fear no more. Today I place stones in the water that some of you have asked me to place, for those you are thinking of, joys and concern. A stone for Suzanne with concern for a loved one. A stone for Renata, whose beloved dog Coffee has died. A stone for the people of Lebanon facing loss and destruction from the explosion in Beirut. A stone of love for our families, far and near. And one last pebble to symbolize the joys and sorrows that remain in our hearts and minds. Let us share a moment of stillness. O God of many moments, O God of many moments, of night gliding into day, and day seeping into night, of infant, milky, sleeping breaths, and wrinkled, crinkled, aging eyes, of the starting beauty of sunlight gazed upon a tree, and mournful moonlit vistas. Call us from our days of doing into instances of being. Remind us of the certainty of love and the neighborhood of grace which binds us to each other each and every day.
Good morning from the beautiful Fletcher Wildlife Garden. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to share some thoughts on grace with you. I'd like to invite you to explore with me the essence of grace and how it might enhance your spiritual practice and or exploration. To me, grace is a mystery. When I look up the word grace in the dictionary, I see it defined as and pertaining to smoothness and elegance of movement or form, the granting of favor, goodwill, consideration for others, an unmerited gift or favor, mercy, to be regarded with kindness, prayer, elegance, and beauty. It can describe when someone is good or bad. In financial circles, it can extend repayment. Whoops. And in classical music, it describes notes that are melodic and ornamental. We are familiar with phrases like grace under fire, falling from grace, but for the grace of God go I, a period of grace, full of grace, moments of grace, surprised by grace, touched by grace. We know what they mean, but sometimes they can be difficult to define. Grace, gratias, gracie, all descend from the same Latin word, gratia, meaning favor, charm, thanks, and gratis. We can go still further back to find grace is related to the Sanskrit word ganati, which means he praises. The Latin root of the word implies something that is bestowed, not asked for, unexpected, while Sanskrit implies grace occurs because we are praised or perhaps cherished. The concept of grace is present in all spiritual traditions to one degree or another. At the heart of grace is the belief that it is a force that supports our very existence and growth. UU minister Reverend Charles J. Stevens writes, "This concept of grace is echoed for me in the poem by 13th century Persian poet and mystic Rumi. You are so weak. Give up to grace. The ocean takes care of each wave till it gets to shore. You need more help than you know." Reverend Stevens writes, "The ocean taking care of each wave does not demand that the wave call it by the correct name. The ocean taking care of each wave does not demand that the wave believe anything about the ocean. There is no need on the part of the waves to believe or understand that the ocean sacrificed for them in any way. I wish I had known this a lot earlier in my life." My experience with grace growing up was mostly confusing. I was raised Catholic and went to a French Catholic school up until high school. Most of my teachers were nuns, so references to grace were frequent and unexplained. I felt there was an expectation that I just know what grace actually was, that it should be common knowledge. I had this mixed up notion that I had to be like Mary, because she was the only reference to grace that I was familiar with. I would go to confession dutifully and recite Hail Mary over and over again. I remember not getting it, so I gave up trying to understand it at all, because it was too daunting. Later, I started to understand that grace was those moments when something happened that was unexpected and helped me in some way. As the author and activist Anne Lamott wrote, "I do not at all understand the mystery of grace, only that it meets us where we are, but does not leave us where it found us." For example, I remember the time my grade 12 English teacher, Mr. Murray, seeing that I struggled with dyslexia, taught me to read out loud, which eventually took away my fear of public reading. Looking back on that experience, I would say that I felt a sense of calmness and soothing that has never left me. To this day, I consider Mr. Murray one of my heroes. Over time, his support and encouragement opened me up to a wider, larger experience of the world, one that changed my perspective and eventually led me to my calling. Or the time on a drive with my husband, I was saying that I felt ready to take on the role of facilitating a 5-day spiritual retreat, and at that very moment, a car passed us with license plates that read, "Clarity." Again, I felt a sense of calmness and soothing, and said a big thank you to Creator. In 1993, I began studying Reiki and completed the 3 levels by 2001. Reiki helped me to recognize that grace is not only an external experience, often it is an internal one. It is intuition, gut feel. It is that still small voice or physical sensation that says, "Notice this." We can probably all remember a time in our lives when heeding that internal nudge resulted in something wonderful, or us saying, "But for the grace of the Creator go I." Sometimes following that nudge is not easy, and it can be messy. And in some instances, we do not recognize grace until later, those silver linings or blessings in disguises moments in our lives. So what if grace was more than good luck or timing? What if grace could be an ongoing co-creative spiritual practice? What if grace was more than receiving? What if we can be conduits of grace? Here are a few perspectives on grace as a spiritual practice. From Gary Zukov, author of Seed of the Soul. Grace is uncontaminated, conscious light. It is divinity. Prayer brings grace, and grace calms you. That is the cycle. Grace is the tranquilizer of the soul. With grace comes a knowing that what you are experiencing is necessary. It calms you with the sense of knowing. Carolyn Mace, author, and medical intuitive, explains grace this way. Grace is as real and tangible as sparkling sand on the beach. It's ready to dramatically transform your life at any time, if you are willing to acknowledge and embrace it. Grace is immediately accessible to you and everyone around you through humility, devotion, and the courage to follow divine guidance. Professor and author Brené Brown writes, "What we all want is to feel connected. Grace is an energy that connects us all and is most present when we feel seen, heard, and valued." Loyal Rue, a religious naturalist theologian, wrote, "The epic of evolution counts out for us a pageant of blessings that stupefies the imagination. Consider the astonishing improbability of a universe suitable for human habitation. Imagine if there had been some variations. We might not exist. Now that is grace." To quote Albert Einstein, "There are only two ways to live your life. One is though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. Such is the wonder and awe of grace." If indeed grace is uncontaminated light, and we are created from this light, and we can experience grace both internally as an insightful voice or body sensation, and externally as serendipity or synchronicity, then in order to live in grace, we must embrace and accept that we are worthy. We must accept our light. So, what gets in the way of this? From earliest childhood, we begin to develop lenses or core beliefs about ourselves and the environment we live in. Each of us has our own set of core beliefs about all aspects of our life. So just for a moment, consider what your core beliefs are around gender, education, money, or faith. Many of our core beliefs are unconscious to us. They drive the bus and can create states of unconscious bias, blind spots, the need for control, the need to be right. They are designed so we can feel safe. They can also close us to grace. Why? Because grace asks us to surrender and be in the flow of the interdependent web of life and to accept ourselves as we are without judgment and shame. I have long ago realized that this is what made grace so puzzling and difficult to put into words. Grace challenged my self-defeating core beliefs. Becoming aware of and changing my self-defeating core beliefs allowed me to feel a connection to grace. I was like a radio station, not quite tuned in to the right spot on the dial. All I had to do was move just a bit and the connection would come through more clearly. Grace provided me with a new lens through which to view my life. Grace does not have to be something that happens to us out of the blue. When we live a life of awareness and mindfulness, we feel it surrounding us. It is ever present, ever available, ever giving. All we have to do is be open to it, to invite it in, to feel it in our breath, in our bodily sensations, in our intuition, and in the voice of our soul. Above all else, we need to trust it and follow through on its guidance. In her TED Talk, Cracking the Grace Code, author Anne Barry Jolis speaks about how her book, The Grace Trail, came to be. She shared how much of a toll her son's deployment in Afghanistan had on her. After reading an article about the Appalachian Trail and how many war vets walk the trail to walk off their war, she created the Grace Trail, a walking trail marked with specific words and questions in her hometown of Plymouth, Massachusetts, to help her walk off her war. To channel grace into her life, she uses each word each letter of the word grace as a question to start the process of self-reflection, action, and change. The grace questions are: G, what am I grateful for in my life? R, what do I need or want to release? A, what do I need to accept in my life? C, what is my challenge? And E, what can I embrace as possible in my life? Today, Grace Trails have been set up in multiple locations, and it is offered in workshops and presentations around the world. She also talks about being in grace in relationships and in community. We have seen grace here in action at FirstU both before and since the pandemic arrived. This great pause has been and continues to be a topsy-turvy experience and an invitation for us to forge a new reality. We have seen this in the creation of calling team, virtual services, choirs, and hospitality hour, the use of technology like Zoom to stay connected, Zoom training to help people become familiar and comfortable with the technology, mask and PPE making, in numerous acts of kindness and generosity, and in reaching out to one another both within FirstU and the wider community. I see grace weaved into our UU principles, especially our 7th principle: respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Making grace an active spiritual practice calls on us to slow down, notice and acknowledge our worthiness, appreciate our worth and that of others, surrender control, and let go of being right. The outcome of co-creating and nurturing grace as a spiritual practice is this: it reduces feelings of disconnection and shame, the need to control, the need to be right. It increases our receptivity and ability to be in the flow of grace, to both receive and give guidance. It opens us up to new possibilities for change and growth, and it creates a grateful heart full of empathy, compassion, and hope. I'd like to close with a quote from UU Minister Reverend Pamela Romancic. We can not only find grace, we can be grace in this world. We can be agents of change, opening possibilities for those around us, even as we transform our own lives. Grace is not something rare, magical, or arcane, which comes from outside of us. It can be an unexpected gift, but it can also be a way of life that we choose, a way of being open to new possibilities, of looking at the world in new ways each and every day. Today and always, may you be open to the gifts of unlimited possibility in your lives. May you find them in moments tiny and large. May you be surprised in all of its manifestations, and may your lives be full to overflowing with the power of grace. Thank you.
This is the time in our service when we usually accept the offering. You may go to our website or contact our finance manager to find out how you might keep up with your pledge or make a donation during these times. We give these gifts freely. We receive these gifts gratefully. We dedicate these gifts to the work of our congregation, serving human wholeness, caring for our planet, upholding religious freedom, welcoming the stranger, loving one another.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazed with grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our stories from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and blessed with grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, when our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazed with grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
Our closing words today come from the poet John O'Donohue. May you experience each day as a sacred gift, woven around the heart of wonder.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Quantum vida spori de justiça, ternurima, cielo patuam, source de vie, viens vers moi, viens vers moi. Forget your perfect offering, forget your perfect offering. Ring the bells and you can ring, ring the bells and you can ring. There is a crack in everything, there is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in, that's how the light gets in, that's how the light gets in. Forget your perfect offering, forget your perfect offering. Ring the bells and you can ring, ring the bells and you can ring. There is a crack in everything, there is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in, that's how the light gets in, that's how the light gets in.